Warning, the following audio transmission is based on theory and is intended for entertainment purposes only. It's Doomsday and its affiliates will not be held liable for anything your dumbass does. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi guys, welcome to another installment of, well, it doesn't actually have a name, I'll have to think of a name, but this is the one show a month where Jester and I, Jester from It's DoomsDay, and I get together and we talk about things that are going on in our respective countries. Jester being from America and me being from Bonnie, Scotland. We like to share what's going on with the media, what's going on in our countries, because I think we've both came to the conclusion, probably a long time ago, that the media, I believe they're globalistic media, mainstream news. And I think tonight's show, when we talk about the derailment and the train derailment in Ohio, and Jester wants to talk a little bit about the balloons being shot down, that you'll see that here in the UK, there are similar stories, although those that didn't happen, there are pretty similar stories. And I've said this in the past on other shows that I've been on, that, for example, I always use the Johnny Depp Amber Heard story. We have two footballers' wives going to court arguing about similar things that kind of set the same agenda. So yeah, I think this show is being well received by my supporters, and Jester said the same. So we hope you enjoy this one. Jester, how are you?
I'm doing great, Baa, and yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I know that our listeners are absolutely loving, these little meeting of the minds when you and I get together and, kind of shoot the shit about what's going on in your side of the world, what's going on over here. I know it's a big deal because a lot of people are just getting so lost within the day-to-day media, right? I mean, there's a new story every 5 minutes, and before you even really get to the bottom of what's going on around the world, the story's already snuffed out and it's moved on to something else. And I know we're a bit late to the party with the balloon thing and with the train derailments, but I do feel it's something that we need to talk about, and it's something that the people on your side of the world need, and the people on my side of the world need to know what you guys are being told.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we'll just get straight into it. We're going to keep these episodes quite short because I think it's good to. I've always felt the 2 hour long episodes that I've done, a lot of people, you see the analytics and they're maybe losing track of it. So I think that could stand us in good stead. So I've got it that on Friday, the 3rd of February, 2023 in Ohio, is it Palestine or Palestine?
Palestine or Palestine. I mean, people have been saying it both ways. I mean, but I think it's Palestine.
Okay. So a train derailed around 9 p.m. On the Saturday morning. It was classed as a state of an emergency. People were told to evacuate the area, a 1 mile radius. And then on Monday, the government, the mayor, the governor decided to release these trains had chemicals on them, which we'll find out soon, or will we, because of the toxicology. I always struggle with that word, the toxicology report. There's obviously some dodgy fingers with those. They decided to set these train cabins alight and burn off the chemicals, which has caused great impact to the East Palestinians. And vinyl chloride has been released into the atmosphere. So it's crazy. I saw the pictures. I saw it. The media were quite quiet over here. There are people at my work don't even know about this, and I just found out that this week because I mentioned it in conversation, and they didn't even know. And I know I've heard a few comments passing by that the American government were quite quiet. Joe Biden hadn't spoken about it, hasn't even attended, I believe. Am I right?
So So let me break down, a little bit more about this. So it took everybody a long time to get involved, the EPA, in federal government to get involved with this. And I mean, their involvement is still very small, right? Now, here's the big thing. That when you're talking about this vinyl chloride that was released and they burned it off, this was the absolute wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
100%. Somebody should have stepped in, EPA, federal government, and said, hell no, you cannot burn that off into the atmosphere. No, 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 no. But they went ahead forward with it, and that's what they did, and it created this giant toxic cloud that's making its way around the northeast of the United States. And what's scaring me right now is I have a friend up in that area, and she listens to the show, and she's up there. And about a week ago, she was in the hospital for some things, and I haven't heard from her since. And she was highly angry about the situation. She was very concerned for her health and her well-being. She was even planning on attending some of the meetings in the area to figure out what was going on with this. She went into the hospital, and no one's heard from her in a little over a week.
Yeah.
So we are greatly concerned with what's going on right now. And let me. So everybody out there knows, guys, I'm going to go down a conspiracy road, but I'm really trying to reframe here. So let me start with this. Before anybody out there says to themselves, these guys are going to go down a conspiracy road, this, that, the other, let me tell you guys something. There is well over 1,000 train derailments in the U.S. annually, right? So, I don't know if you knew this or not, but we've had over 12,000 derailments in the U.S. in the last decade.
That was the first thing that went through my mind was I want to know if this is a common thing or not. And I have known that there are quite many, which did surprise me, but go on. I know what you're saying. Yeah, carry on.
Right. So, basically what I wanted the audience to understand is that, the derailments are a quite frequent thing. And they're so frequent, in fact, that there are procedures to follow when something like this were to happen. And again, I'm not going down a conspiracy road here, but everybody out there knew that this was a bad idea to burn this off. Okay? Train derailments are going to happen. I mean, they happen all the time. They are somewhat preventable, though. So
yeah. So Jester, I was going to jump in there. So with the protocols to burn it off, that's the second thing I was asking myself. Has this happened before? Yes, we know derailments happen, but has toxic liquids and chemicals been, has a train with that sort of chemicals been derailed before? And what was the protocols taken then? Because for me, that's the questions I think everyone should be asking is, has this been done before? Was this the right protocol? Well, I think we know now it wasn't, but has this been used before?
So off the top of my head, I can't think of a time that it was used before. Now, I will say this, though. I used to work for the DOT. Well, I worked for a company that was under DOT guidelines. And the company would haul things, not potentially toxic. We hauled things on the waterways. So basically, if we had a fuel leak or some kind of toxic chemical was being released from one of our vessels, we had procedures to follow. We had to notify the DOT, the EPA, these people, and we had to do proper containment of these spills. Okay?
Yep.
Now, I would think that would be the same thing that would have happened with this, right? Mm-hmm. Not just burn it off into the atmosphere. I don't know who got this idea. I don't know why. And I don't know who thought it was a good idea. And I don't know why the EPA didn't step in and say, no, you can't do that. Especially for all the crap they give us all the time about different things you shouldn't burn. Don't burn tires. Don't burn styrofoam. Buy an electric car, blah, blah, blah. But we're just going to burn off all this vinyl chloride into the air that we know is extremely toxic, that we know is getting into people's lungs and getting into the waterways and contaminating crops. It's cool, though, Baa. We could do that.
Yeah, I know. Because that again, there's so many, initial questions I was asking myself about this. And I think I know what you're leading to. The conspiracy theorists probably say, like, was this a derailment on purpose? And I don't think that it necessarily needs to be a conspiracy. And I don't mind saying that. And I know we're both probably going to go into what the conspiracy or agendas could be. But I also know that there are raw, natural things that happen in the world that the people, they do jump on and use to like push an agenda. So this might have been the train might have derailed by accident. It might have been a raw thing that happened, but what's the whole setting it on fire, the things that happened to these Palestinians, and some of the things we'll talk about later on, those are the things I'm wary of. I think if they use this disaster to push their agenda.
Hey preppers, do you want 10% off survival food? Go to www.readywise.com and use code DOOM10 at checkout for 10% off all your survival food needs. Again, that's code DOOM10 at checkout at readywise.com, DOOM10 for 10% off at readywise.com. It's very possible. I would like to think this was a total accident and there is no agenda that goes with this. Mm-hmm. But there's one like blaring thing out there that's telling me otherwise, and that is simply this. If you try to look up anything about train derailments at all, okay, the mm-hmm. only thing that seems to be populating on the internet right now is East Palestine and this current derailment. And I will go on to say this. There was a recent head-on train collision in Greece. I believe there's about 60 people dead, 2 trains on the same track. They should have known where they were going. These trains are tracked. They knew it was happening. That situation's almost like it's an inside job. But if you're looking up train derailments, you're not getting that information. There are people protesting right now in Greece and losing their minds over this. Mm-hmm. But the train derailment in East Palestine is still what's overtaking the internet. Now, why would you want focus to be diverted there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that sounds familiar. I didn't know that, but I had another theory about the name East Palestine. Obviously, we're familiar with Palestine over in, next to Israel and the conflict that goes on there, that we should maybe have eyes on East Palestine, over there. And I haven't done that yet. This is just something that, me and you've talked about doing a show on over the last few days. So, but that goes in hand with that. You're right. This is even like, remember the Black Lives Matter, where everyone had to post a picture of just a black image, which sent the internet basically into, frenzy. And it hidden. Wasn't it Hillary Clinton was in court that day, and that blocked all the stuff that was coming through about that. So yeah, they definitely do those things.
Right, yeah, and I mean, something to really think about here is we're all going to the internet for information nowadays, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, it's very easy to clog up that pipeline and suppress information you don't want out. So, maybe, and here we go with the conspiracy side of me, Baa, maybe, just maybe, setting this vinyl chloride on fire in Ohio was the biggest gaslighting situation we've ever seen. Literally gaslighting.
Yeah, I like what you did there. Yeah,
I'd honestly like to think that that's not the case here, and that's not what's happening, man. But the evidence is stacked so far in the favor of the conspiracy theorists at this point. So much is being left up to question, and the things that are taking place, I don't know if you caught this in the media or not, Bob, but so basically, the residents of East Palestine got a payout. Did you hear about the payout they got for this chaos and destruction that has taken place in their town?
No.
Okay, so basically, I'm trying to remember the exact amounts, and I'm probably wrong when I say this, but so each resident of Palestine got approximately $5. For this disaster. There is now, and I haven't checked in on it since then, but there is now also a class action lawsuit taking place with the town against, I guess, Norfolk Southern, which was the
Yeah.
train
Yeah.
company that this was with. And you know, it's a pretty big slap in the face, you know, especially when you consider all this shit we've heard over the last year about the railroads being shut down. And I don't know if you guys caught any wind of that over on your side of the world. Did you guys get any information on that
No.
at all? Okay,
No.
so let me explain something to all the listeners out there. A lot of goods and services are ran on railroads here. Okay, a multitude of things, everything from coal to heat people's homes, to fuels, to these toxic chemicals, livestock, cars, everything is shipped by rail in the U.S. Okay. Hey preppers, check out Blackbeard Fire Starters. Go to www.blackbeardfire.com/doomsday and utilize code doomsday for 10% off your entire order at blackbeardfire.com. Now, they were talking severely for a while about, you know, shutting down the railroads striking, and nobody being able to get goods or services. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's the way it was explained to me was that one of the things that was, you know, one of the reasons why the unions wanted to shut down was due to safety issues. Okay. Brakes needed to be upgraded on these trains. They didn't do it. This, that, the other. This is leading to these derailments. And and this is the other crazy thing. I know you guys heard about East Palestine. Did you know there was multiple train derailments in February in the U.S.?
I know of one other, and I forget the name. It's gone out of my head. Was it Cleveland?
Was it Cleveland?
That is that one that I've known about, but that's just me. I'm not saying the UK have been told. Obviously, because I listen to this stuff.
Right.
There is one I know about, but I hear there's 4. Is there not 4?
Yeah, I believe so. And now you got me second guessing myself on it. So I believe there was one that took place in Texas as well that was pretty bad. But anyway, to get back into this, again, they're overwhelming the search engines. They're controlling what's going on, what you can search, and everything is being covered up by the specific derailment in Palestine. Now, the big thing with this too is, I'm going to tell you what, Baa, you know, Americans are dumb. Sorry to all my American listeners. We just are. It's a thing. I brought this toxic cloud in a class I go to, and there's about 15 people in that class. You know, not one person knew about this, and this is taking place within our country.
Yeah.
That's how bad this is. And, you know, I'm not saying the area I live in is going to be affected by these toxic chemicals, but it very well could be.
Yeah.
It's not outside of the realm of possibility for winds to shift, this to happen, that to happen, and potentially all of us get sick. Now, you kind of also got to sit back and think, who really stands to gain from this? And the answer is nobody. Mm-hmm. Nobody gains from this. Maybe Big Pharma does at some point, but I don't know. So what else you got on this, Baa? What else did you research?
Yeah, so I have to touch on the White Noise Netflix film that was being pushed in, I believe, January. Do you know about this?
I've heard it spoke of in rumblings. I don't know much about it, though.
Yeah, I haven't watched it, and I just listened to one of my favorite American, shout out to the Propaganda Report, Monica Perez and Brad Binkley. I've listened to them for a couple of years now, and she was talking about it. It must have been, I think it was Christmas time. They were searching for a film to watch with the family, and it was almost as if Netflix were pushing this one down their throats, as they do, and it was called White Noise. Now, this is a movie about a train derailment and how the government were the ones who step in, make the decision to ignite what's in the train, and it causes pretty similar to what's happened in East Palestine. And lo and behold, where was that movie set? In East Palestine, with some of the East Palestinian people were actually extras in the movie. It just blows my mind. Like, when I heard that, I'm like, wow. But it shouldn't blow my mind, because I've done, research into some of these, like 9/11s, Boston bombing, some of these other terrorist attacks, and 9 times out of 10, what you find is there is a live drill going on on those days, the day of 9/11, to what would happen if an explosion would go off nearby, and the Boston Marathon was the same. What would happen if a bomb was to go off, and then all of a sudden, click your fingers and it goes live, and that's what I believe anyway. But it just blows my mind.
Want to be a guest on the show? Email it's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com. That's it's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com.
So I guess I'm really going to have to go watch this movie now.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. And I mean, no, I get what we could call that predictive programming, we could call that whatever we want, but it's happening all too often for it to just be considered, a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think. Sorry, I was going to jump. I think also you almost touched on it, and I was going to jump in. What do you think the repercussions of these chemicals being burned? And I've saw images and videos of mad people, taking videos of the sky, screaming. Like there was this one guy in his backyard screaming. Dogs were barking because he was so angry at what the government or the mayor or the governor, whoever made that decision, has done. What the repercussions could be, because I've heard. This could be a Chernobyl event. This could be people all dying of cancer. Like, I don't know if I'm talking out of turn there. This is just things I'm hearing. What are your thoughts on that?
So this is a very deadly chemical. And it basically, the more concentrated of an area you're in, the more deadly it is. Now, people in the U.S. are already reporting, through social media, YouTube, TikTok, things like this, are already reporting about different animals that are dying. They're showing different chemicals popping up in waterways after this. There's a lot of repercussions already happening due to this toxic cloud. Long-term effects of this are great. Obviously, cancer's on the table. We know that, without question. I thought it was really interesting, the video you sent me earlier, though, with the byproduct of this. I believe the video said the byproduct of this was another chemical that is DNA altering. Yeah. Which I thought was very interesting.
Phosgene, which is, I did some research when I sent you the video and I came off and I started looking into it. Phosgene, and I think this is not in Ohio. I think this is one of the other ones, if I remember correctly, where propane oxide was on that train, and they had to, do the same, set the train on fire to get rid of these chemicals rather than doing it the proper way. And one of the gases on that train was phosgene, and this was the primary gas used in World War I, which was responsible for 85% of chemical weapon deaths. And it's also not a gas that you can detect. You can't smell it. And even, I think in some occasions you can. If they put another chemical in with it, you can smell it, which is a safety precaution. However, added to that, you've got a lot of people obviously suffering from COVID and parosmia, which is something I had, where your nasal, you just can't smell things. So a very deadly gas to be igniting.
You would think at some point that that officials would get a handle on this and say, hey, don't do this. I guess they're not that smart, though. I think maybe that they need a pay cut. And I mean, it blew my mind when I went back and watched that video, though, because I'm thinking, DNA altering, again, the conspiracy theorist in me thinks that, that's on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
I'd also like to ask, I was asking the initial questions that go through my mind when I hear of something like this. And one of them that I didn't say was, where was this train going? Why are those chemicals on those trains? Is this because again, I'm always trying to find out, is this a thing that happens all the time? Is there always those chemicals passing through that way? Who was buying them? Why were they going the way they were going? That's the kind of questions that I think a lot of people need to ask. Maybe there's the answer out there.
Well, I'll tell you what. So the vinyl chloride that was on there, my understanding of this, and I could be very often wrong, my understanding of this is this specific chemical is used for PVC products, all right? So making drain pipe for houses, certain pieces of furniture, PVC fencing, basically plastics that are in great contact with the outdoors or water, right?
Okay.
I know some of these things are manufactured overseas and then shipped to the U.S., mainly China.
Yeah.
We do manufacture a lot of PVC products in the U.S., though. We absolutely do. So I'm assuming that this chemical, if that's what was its intended use, that it was being shipped to one of these factories to make and manufacture the PVC pipe or outdoor fencing or something of the sort. Now, what's a scarier thought about this, though, is, we utilize a lot of PVC within our homes for drain lines and things like that. It makes you wonder how much of this toxic fumes is released when you have a legitimate house fire. You know, that's something to take into consideration, too, is, what kind of chemicals are being released in that respect. Hey preppers, check out Blackbeard Fire Starters. Go to www.blackbeardfire.com/doomsday and utilize code doomsday for 10% off your entire order at blackbeardfire.com.
Yeah.
No,
it's crazy. And even just to add to, I've got some of the damages that's already occurred. I know you mentioned there's animals, there's dead dogs, dead cats, dead fish. I've got here 1.1 million gallons of water has had to be removed, and 15,000 pounds of soil. And this was all done on the 20th. Now, the initial ignition of the chemicals was on the 6th, I believe, the Monday. This happened on the Friday night. Took them till the Monday to decide to ignite it. And then on the 20th, with all the dead animals that were popping up and all that, they decided to get in and excavate and remove this stuff. People are complaining about nausea, coughs, sickness, and this one alarmed me a bit. I mean, I don't know why they've just said kids, but kids are seemingly turning up with bloodshot red eyes, maybe because they're out playing and the adults are inside or at work and they're outside more, but that was a shocker. So we just don't know what this can do. It's crazy. And I remember sending you a link on night shift when I was on night shift, last week, about people going down there with cameras. And I know you've preached about that on your own show. And I've started to, look out for these types of people that are willing to get out there with a camera and a microphone and be real news reporters, because you and I both know the media are lying to us.
I love how you said real news reporters.
Yeah, I know.
No, I agree with you. And, Baa, that's the big thing, man, is that everybody's got a camera in their pocket nowadays. Mm-hmm. It's very easily for you to pull that thing out, get the scoop, and put it on the internet and get the truth of what's really going on. Sooner or later, these news media outlets are going to have to figure that out. They're going to have to realize that is the way of the future, and their time is coming to an end. And they're not going to be around for much longer. So if I was someone that worked within news media, I would say, hey, we need to be honest. We need to be putting the truth out there. We need to not be manipulating, because at the end of the day, when the dust settles, we want to at least be here still being able to put out the truth, and be on board with what's going on. Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's just the way it is. So we've got a little under 10 minutes left here, Baa. Let's get into this balloon thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this fracking balloon. Okay, so let's start with this. I think the Chinese balloon that was shot down over Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, right off the coast of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, everybody knows about this all over the world. I don't think that this is information that people haven't gathered, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, what people may not know about this situation is, first off, this balloon did its job, okay? It made its way across the entire U.S., picking up and relaying data on whatever it needed to do, okay? Now, everybody was like, oh my God, this is a surveillance balloon. This is so scary, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell everybody right now, if you're on TikTok, you've got the surveillance equipment in your pocket right now. You have it on you, okay? So that balloon may have got a good picture of the roof of your house, but that phone is getting what's going on inside your house. So if we really think China sent over a balloon to do surveillance and pick off some imagery, stuff like that, that's all crap, okay? Mm-hmm. Was it transmitted and relaying data? Sure, absolutely. It could have been. Absolutely. We're not getting too many answers on what kind of equipment was on that balloon. The best you're getting right now on the internet is sophisticated surveillance equipment and capabilities of relaying information. You know, you're getting stories like that. This balloon may have had some high-resolution cameras on it to really get some good pictures. Hey preppers, do you want 10% off survival food? Go to www.readywise.com and use code DOOM10 at checkout for 10% off all your survival food needs. Again, that's code DOOM10 at checkout at readywise.com, DOOM10 for 10% off at readywise.com. But you guys got to understand, China has access to Google Earth and they have their own satellites. I mean, they can surveil right now. Okay? Again, another gaslight situation. And, for those people that are out there, seeing a balloon in the sky is not a very uncommon thing. We launch thousands of weather balloons, man. They're going up all the time. And granted, this was not the same thing, but what was really odd is, and I found this to be very interesting, is they waited to take this out till it was out of to where it wasn't over U.S. soil anymore, right? That was the big thing. And they said it was because of the dangers. They didn't know what it contained, this, that, the other. And I'm thinking in my head, it's 2023. We have all this great technology. You didn't have a way to take this balloon down? Are you serious? Yeah. You had to go up and shoot missiles at this thing. Okay. All right. Okay. So this thing could have been relaying data the whole entire time, right? And then we come to find there's multiple balloons floating around that are apparently doing the same job. What are they saying over where you're at, Baa?
Again, I don't think these two, the derailments and the balloons, were covered much. Again, I refuse to put the aerial back in my TV and sit and watch the nightly news. But even on the podcast, I mean, I go into work and listen to podcasts every day, and I've started listening to, here's another plug for any of the UK-based people that listen to my show, get on UK Column, because for me, they're what me and Jester are trying to do for you guys just now. They're doing it. They're probably the biggest one, and they didn't really cover it in that much detail, other than pretty much you've just summed up. There's no theories, and that's something that I just watched a 5-minute video on it there just before, because today I've been focused on the Ohio train derailing, and for me, what I gathered from it was that, I mean, again, I could be wrong, but for me, it sounds as if they're trying to program us into being okay with shooting things out of the sky and believing that it's China trying to interfere, because I don't know, again, I could be shooting from the wrong place, but I think China coming in on the side of Russia is something that I've preached about on my show for a while. So maybe this is the start of that, trying to get the Americans to now hate on China, to worry about China and all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Well,
is that
Baa, I think you hit the nail right on the head with that one. I mean,
good one.
Well, here's the reality. They, and again, I'm not going to go down a crazy conspiratorial road here, but they do want to program us into being okay with a conflict with China. They want us to be okay with military aircraft flying through the sky like it's the norm, shooting shit down. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to say the balloon was a total 100% pre-planned tactic to program and gear us into this, but it's definitely going into that direction 100%.
I don't buy Pearl Harbor, I don't buy 9/11, and I don't buy this in regards to we don't have the technology to know what's going on around us. The whole, we didn't know the flight was coming in Pearl Harbor, 9/11. I don't buy that. So that certainly is out the window for me. But one thing I did also like to add is I heard there's a lot of, again, another theory, and I've done an episode on this chat GPT. I always get the letters wrong, but this is a real concern for me. And I believe that after the balloon issue that you guys had, there's been a lot of China news videos that have surfaced where they'll put like two anchors next to each other, but you can tell if you've got any brain cells to rub together that they're not real humans, but it's a lot of Chinese propaganda with the balloons and with all that kind of stuff. So I think too much, but I do believe in the whole warmongering, trying to get China on the side of Russia so that they come in,
Right. And, so let's wrap up on this. All right. For all the listeners out there.
Yeah.
The situation between Russia, the U.S., the Ukraine, and China, this is gearing up. China has just kind of pledged financial allegiance to Russia. Putin just signed a bill to back out of the nuclear deal that they had with us from 2010. So, guys, it's on. It's happening right now. And if you guys don't think we're going to war with China, it's coming. And I'm going to be covering a lot of that on my show within the next month here, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary times. And again, for any of my listeners, they know I'm all about the occult, learning about skull and bones, Freemasonry, and a big date that I've had my eyes on for a while. And I've told you guys before, the 3/22, every March 22nd, you'll find a terrorist attack or a bombing or a shooting. I believe last year it was Boulder, and on March 22nd. Could be a great date to start World War III, guys. So not to put the dampener on it, but get your bunkers looked out. All the people that's been listening to Jester, I'm sure you guys are sorted. But
I hope they are. Yeah, guys. So listen, I would love a little bit of feedback, guys, on what you think of me and Baa getting together to do this show. So reach out to us on social media. Reach out to me or Baa. Let us know how you think we're doing with this, guys. We'd greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I was just saying again, we've covered a couple of topics that obviously concern the world. Obviously, if you're a humanitarian and you don't want seeing these things happen, but next show we'll cover things that are going on in the UK, maybe even Europe. I'll dig into some things, but again, I for the people that listen to myself, let me know if there's any news stories. We do want to stay relevant. We want to talk about things that are going on just now, so that you guys are ready, prepared, and not falling into any traps. So let us know, guys.
This is an emergency action message. At approximately 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NORAD is tracking 15 ICBM nuclear missiles inbound to the following cities: Orlando, Miami, Pittsburgh, Dover, Newark, Richland, Philadelphia, New York City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Boston, Seattle, Detroit. This is an extremely deadly situation. Stay tuned. The next emergency message will be a presidential address.